Well, hello everybody. Larry Young here again with another segment of Old Man Living Life with Purity. And today I want to do a little different mashup of things, kind of an update on recent news, things of that nature, and to kind of give everyone a heads up as to what's coming down the pipe here. Alex and I have been doing a lot of research on a number of things, and we have a couple of new series that we're working on that I'll try to give you some information ahead of time on, so you might want to do a little studying. Maybe you want to, as you're surfing around looking for certain things, you might want to digest a few topics so it might make more sense to you when we do deliver it, and that'll be in the next couple of weeks here. So, but the first thing I want to start off with is an update on our good friend Irv Kloska, who I told you about the other day, who had an emergency surgery, miraculous situation all around. Miraculous results. I want to let everyone know Irv was sent home a couple days ago, and he told me that yesterday his wife Bonnie of 63 years drove him to Mass, and then they went to, I believe, a rosary or a prayer service that was being done there at the church, and he stayed for that, and then is home resting comfortably and causing all kinds of havoc there in the house. So Bonnie's about ready to kick him out, ask him if he doesn't have something he could be doing someplace else. That's kind of how it goes with retired folks. And Irv's not retired, so I'm sure he's probably going to want to be going back to the office here one of these days real soon too, just try to check up on things, because that's what makes that man tick. So real proud of that whole family. They've got an amazing story they're putting together with all the different personal notes of all the different 12 children and what was going through their minds while all this news was being delivered to them all, what their perceptions were, what their thoughts were. And we're looking to see where the common words and phrases and things like that might be between these 12 individuals, which will tell us a couple things. One, it'll be about what their focus is of their general formation that happened as a family and as a Catholic family on top of that. But also where the world has gone and where with the different perspectives of these different ages, because it's a full spectrum of ages with these kids, 12 of them. They didn't all happen at once. So they all have a different perspective on this. And I think it's going to be a really interesting set of data to digest. And this is going to be kind of like one of those things that I would see if you were a detective. You would set all the different points of information up on a big board, and then you would draw connecting lines between all these things and see where everything meets as a common point to where you want to focus your attention. That's kind of one of the things we got going on right now. It's a kind of a unique situation, but I think it's going to be very interesting to see how the minds of these people all work together and individually. So I'm interested in that kind of stuff, and hopefully we'll make it interesting for you too. But with Irv on the mend and Bonnie probably needing a little rest herself right now. So with that being said, I think they're in good hands right now. So I'll leave that to be, and thank you all for your prayers on that. It matters. And know that Irv is always praying for all you folks too. So he's very unselfish in that regard. And I think that's just kind of cool that, the good don't always die young. So let's keep this guy around a little while. So as far as the upcoming topics that Alex and I are going to be tackling here, a lot of folks have been asking about more on the end times with different prophecies and, writings that have been done by people throughout the ages regarding that topic. Things like the Poem of the Man God with Maria Valtorta, and recently like Mark Taylor, much more current in the last 25 years. But also compare it up against, the book of Revelation, in the Bible. So we're going to try to, like Irv and his family will be doing with their different stories, we're going to try to find where the commonalities are, where the intersections are in these things, and try to add some, little bit of context to these things as compared to one another. So we're not going to try to say that this is true, that's true. We're just trying to see where the links are and how this all sort of fits together. So I think that's going to be very, very interesting because there's an awful lot of writings to digest on that, and a lot of personal revelations, private revelations that can be added into this, and especially in this day and age where things are coming together very, very quickly. I think that might cause a little bit of interesting conversation. So along with that, we're also going to be doing a companion series on Marian apparitions and the messages that have come true or are still being played out in our lives today as we can see it. A lot of times when people dive into this, they try to personalize it, and they always think that everything's immediately right now. And in my experience, I found that a lot of times that things are bound to happen, but it may not happen in our lifetime. But this is part of the selfishness of reason that comes when we only live a limited amount of time. We're always pushing for it to happen now, now, now. Well, you got to remember, heaven doesn't have a clock. Heaven just is. Heaven exists. Heaven is eternal. Heaven doesn't, manage things in a sequence like we do with a 24-hour day. So that's a hard concept for mankind to quite understand because it's how we're indoctrinated and put together. But heaven is a little bit, or a lot different than that. And this is something where patience and, this firmament of knowing rather than believing in things is where it really pays off for you and helps you get through these things. So like I've always told people, I don't want them to have faith in Jesus. I want them to know Jesus, that he does exist and he is for them. And it's not a faith thing, it's a knowledge thing. Because there isn't a faithful person in heaven, not a single one. They all know. And that's what makes heaven heaven, is that there's this commonality of an agreement. This agreement of all things is there because it's all truth. And that's really what the feeling of heaven is. It's a very, very comfortable situation because everyone's really on the same page and is rooting for each other. They're all each other's biggest fans because they become you become them in heaven. And I don't know if you quite understand that, but hopefully you'll come to know that. Okay, so what we're going to be doing with the Marian apparitions, we'll be stepping into probably the more recent things back to the last couple hundred years. But included in that will be, of course, Lourdes and Fatima, Garabandal, and the Our Lady of America apparitions and messages that came to Sister Millie. There's probably a number of others in there, but we're going to be looking for the common threads so we don't burden people with too much. I don't want to paraphrase, but I'll just phrase, we're going to be unburdened by our past. Sorry to those who might have thrown up just a little bit right then, but you'll get over it. All right. In news that's going on right now, we're going to be diving into this one too, because this is unfolding as we speak. The traditional Latin Mass cover-up. Now, a lot of you may not know what it is I'm talking about, but in 2020, there was a survey of the world's bishops, and it was asking them about the effects of the traditional Latin Mass, if they saw it as being a positive, a negative, if things should be changed. This sort of polling was going on because the Vatican staff, or as I like to refer to them as the Lavender Mafia, they wanted to, I believe, kill and shut down the Latin Mass, because the Latin Mass, with its traditions and its conservative values, stood in the way of them reorganizing things and moving the entire world church into not just a one world order, but also into this progressive stance, which is the one world order. So they're trying to move everybody into more of a progressive light on things. But when they got the evidence and the numbers back from all these bishops, it was a pretty overwhelming response that they favored the Latin Mass and the use of it and how it played a role in developing their own diocese, their own areas, but the understanding of the beauty within the Mass and its purpose, rather than just being a church service. There's a difference. Catholics don't go to church. They go to Mass. Christians go to church. There is a difference. And it's okay if you don't go to Mass if you're a Christian. Just try to be the best Christian you can and try to understand these things. You don't have to believe any of this because it's all either private revelation or somebody's take on things. Except the Mass, and that's the one thing that Jesus did leave us with the rite of the Last Supper, and that's what we celebrate and recreate each time when we do go to Mass. So for our non-Catholic viewers here, that's kind of the stance on that, and I'm sure you've heard it before and you understand it, so I'm not going to belabor that. So, but we love everybody that goes. I don't care what church you go to. I don't even care if you do go to church. I hope you decide to, but it doesn't change my thinking towards you, or hopefully not towards me. But with these 2020 survey results coming back pretty much overwhelmingly in support of it, well, they didn't like that, so they changed the narrative when they gave this information to Francis Bergoglio. And what they wanted him to do was to ban it in all churches, all parishes around the world. They would reserve it because they knew they couldn't kill it, right in one swoop. That would be too much, and that would have caused too much backlash. But what they did is they reserved it for oratories and other special for this, maybe monasteries, things like this, things that were away from the general population as a general rule, that wouldn't be in the face of your parishes, because they wanted to strip this away and invoke and push in all this progressive type of stuff. So apparently it was all a lie, because in 2021, Francis Bergoglio shut down the Latin Mass, saying that it was destructive, going against all the polling results. So whether he was watching this himself, which I doubt, he was being told all this by the staffers or the Lavender Mafia, who has an agenda and wants to shut things down on a conservative basis and move it all towards this liberal progressivism, which I think is basically sharpening the blade to basically kill yourself. So it was all apparently a lie told by the Vatican staff in an effort to make the church progressive, and bring in like women priests, and they're already talking about having women deacons. And I can tell you true that once that happens, you're going to see a real boot, scoot, and shuffle out the door by many, many, many true men who are not going to accept that. So be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you put on the plate, because not everybody's going to eat it. So the Vatican has only said, because they got found out. Documents were leaked that showed that the results of the poll were overwhelmingly the other way than what the Vatican and the Pope represented. And when questioned on it, the Vatican staffer says, well, the information's all incomplete. What does that mean? That means they haven't decided exactly how they're going to cover up their cover-up. That's a bad place to be. They got caught. They won't admit it. There's a problem here. Am I going to solve it? No. This is for other people to decide. If they want to kill the Latin Mass, it's not my dog in the fight. But if the Vatican can't come up with an answer more than just like the information is incomplete, and they're working on their cover-up, maybe maybe they should just hire the team of Brennan, Clapper, Comey, McCabe, and Obama, because they seem to have gotten this down, and they're working on theirs too. So maybe they can all work on their stories together. So in the meantime, I love you, and I'll be back.